as of right now, as of recording time, let's assume that tomorrow is Saturday. Who's your quarterback tomorrow?
So, can I ask a clarifying question? Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, my co-host John Powell and I preview this week's matchup for Georgia with the Missouri Tigers. As you can imagine, we discussed the quarterback situation as well. As always, remember you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at My Gotta Podcast. And we'd love it if you'd subscribe, rate, and review the show. If you do, you just might hear your review in a future episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. We're on to Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny. Like we hung up, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot to recap, like the cliffhanger of the last episode of what we were going to have for dinner." And I actually said to Ken, I was like, "Hey, you want to go and record like a 2-minute segment? I can make it like an outro, like a after the credits scene kind of thing." And she just kind of laughed at me. So. At one point, she was like, "Did you really want to do that?" I was like, "No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine."
Oh, she wants to participate with you, Jim.
I know.
So the Tigers.
The Tigers. All right. So
Missouri.
Which I still am like getting used to them being in the SEC. Like I still think it's so weird. Like that was the one that made no sense to me. Like I always wonder, like, why are they here? I mean, I know it's money. Like, I know that's the answer, but they just never seemed like a fit to me. So I've got a trivia question for you.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times we played them before they joined the league?
Oh, I'll go 5.
Okay, so this is crazy. Once.
Ah, dang.
So
I knew it was single digits.
Yep. So it was once. It was the 1960 Orange Bowl. We beat them 14-0. So to give an idea, though, the timing we're talking about. So Wally Butts was Georgia's head coach of Butts-Mehre fame, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like 6 years before Larry Munson was doing play-by-play for Georgia. So that's how long it had been, for us to play them before they joined the league. So
that's crazy to think about. I wonder what it was like back. I wonder what Missouri, I wonder what Columbia was like back then.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess so we don't have anything I can't be like, "So John, what was your favorite memory of playing Missouri when we were in school?" We've had a couple of conversations like that. So we have nothing to talk through from that lens. I mean, the 2012 game was a pretty cool game. Like that was their first SEC game. So that was a great season for us. And it was kind of like the Jarvis Jones coming out party. Like I definitely remember that. Like that was awesome.
Jarvis.
Yeah. And then, then we had our single loss to them. So we are 8-1 against them all time. But that single loss was the following year. So in 2013. But that was in that we actually talked about in our Florida review. The 13 team was with all the rash of injuries. So I believe that Missouri loss game was coming off that Tennessee game where I had mentioned Keith Marshall, blew out his knee, and I think Justin Scott Wesley, and then somebody else too. I think Michael Bennett also got hurt that game or something. And then. So we had Brendan Douglas and company, right? Playing running
back. He's back.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I guess those are my main kind of memories of them, I guess.
I don't really have a whole lot of memories of Missouri other than to just always recall that Chris Jones, our buddy Chris Jones, his family was Missouri fans, and that was like one of my first introductions was to the logo was in college. I didn't really know anybody that was a Missouri fan.
Right. Yeah. The only other thing I have was I guess the first time I went to watch us play against them, because I didn't go to the game in 13. We had something going on at home in North Carolina. So I went to the 2015 game, which was two things stand out to that to me. Number one was the score. That was a 9-6 game. So
Oh
super
yeah,
exciting one.
that game was awesome.
Yeah, so that was Rick's last year, Grayson Lambert, all that fun stuff. But I remember I ran into a buddy of mine, Will Harvey, downtown. I just remember him just screaming, "Missouri loves company." So that was his line, like for the entire weekend. So, which, play a 9-6 game, I guess it kind of panned out. So
exactly.
And that's all I got for Missouri memories. I'm usually all like want to talk about things from the days of yore, but I've got nothing with that.
Yeah, no, there's not a whole lot going on here. Although you historically the Missouri game is usually pretty tough because they have really good defense, but Barry's not there anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
This is the first season without him, right?
Oh, without Barry Odom? Yes.
Yeah, because he's at Alabama now or Arkansas.
Yeah, I say he's at Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas.
He's defensive coordinator at Arkansas. Which best wishes to Coach Pittman. You actually were the one that alerted me today that he has coronavirus.
Yeah.
Hopefully for a speedy recovery for him.
I would say he's solidly in the risk category. So best wishes to Pitt boss.
Yeah, for sure. So new head coach this year, Eli Drinkwitz, living in North Carolina, I do have some App State connections. So I did kind of ask around a little bit about that, or about him. And, he was only there for like one season. So, they're not super happy with him. I would say that because, so their prior coach left and it was at Louisville. Right. And so then Drinkwitz came in to App State last year to be the replacement. And that was it. It was a one and done. And when he got there, he had a lot of talk about like, this is not a stepping stone job and that kind of stuff. So just him saying that and then treating it that way, he didn't even hang around for the bowl game last year. So not a lot of fans of him in my state of North Carolina. So for whatever what that's worth.
Yeah. I don't know. This is one of those games that if it's not quite as bad as Kentucky, in my opinion, but not too worried about it. So, what are we going to say about this game, Jim?
So I haven't watched much of them. I'll say that. They got a horrible addition game with the pandemic adjusted schedule. They opened with Alabama. So Alabama was not originally on their schedule, kind of an awful start for them. So started 0-2, they got beat pretty soundly by Tennessee also. I was at Tennessee. And then, so they started 0-2, but then they shocked the world and beat LSU, right? At home in a game that was moved to Missouri due to weather, from what I recall, right?
Which at the time, I don't think that everybody realized that LSU was as bad as they are.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So then they beat Kentucky, I know that was like a big deal for them. So like for Missouri, like their seniors going into that game had never beaten Kentucky. So that was a big deal. I did see the end of that. And I remember watching the kind of the post-game interview with Drinkwitz, and that was one of the things he said. I think the sideline reporter was like, your seniors don't know what no one on this team knew what it felt or knows what it feels like to beat Missouri or to beat Kentucky. And he was like, I believe everyone on this team knows what it's like to beat Kentucky. So it was a nice quick response on that. But
that's funny.
And then
is it bad that they are treating that game like that? It's like
right. Geographically, they're, I guess, kind of close. Certainly closer than to us. So I don't know if they're trying to make that some kind of rival or what. That's a good question. I don't know. And then obviously they got waxed by Florida, which that's most of what I watched but I watched that more from the lens of wanting to see what Florida looked like heading into last week. And that was where, like Florida looked really good against them. And where I saw Tony do a lot of stuff, making guys miss. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, they've got a good running back in Roundtree. He's put up some pretty good numbers. And I do know that our guy Aaron Murray on punt and pass loves the quarterback.
Yeah, I was about to say the quarterback is what kind of scares me the most because he's not quite Mac Jones, he's not quite Kyle Trask. I'm not even 100% certain like where he necessarily stands on the whole um you know as an SEC passer, like I don't know where he ranks or anything like
Mhm.
that, but I mean he's put up pretty decent stats and he has a really good quarterback rating, which um you know we don't do very well with these pretty good quarter. We don't do very well with these quarterbacks apparently, and hopefully we can figure out a way to guard the wheel route.
Yeah, seriously. He's 96 of 139 on the year, 1,101 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. So that's what he looks like for the year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, so on that, like if just kind of looking at, I guess with their offense, our defense. So I mean, I would assume Jordan Davis is out again. Although I did not see that specifically mentioned in the press conference today. I don't know if I got asked. I don't know. I don't know if you listened to it. I kind of just looked at the tweets from the beat writers. I didn't see anything about that. Oh no, I did. Sorry, I just found it. Okay, so Seth Emerson said Jordan Davis elbow is week to week, and then Scene is in the concussion protocol, which is kind of what I assumed.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if Scene. So he wouldn't. So since he got ejected in the first half against Florida, he's not suspended at all for this game. He's not suspended for the first half or anything like that against Missouri. Um,
Okay.
but I don't. But so concussion protocol, we'll see. So if Scene can't go, so then you got Chris Smith. Obviously, is going to start regardless at safety. And then I'm not sure exactly what we would do to fill in there. I mean, I know like Major Burns came in against Florida eventually, so it'd either be Burns or you've got like move Webb or Stevenson to safety.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And I did see, so on your wheel route joke, like I did see like Stokes in his availability today was talking about like that it's on the secondary and secondary has to help everybody out and they've got to be the leaders, etc. So
Hmm.
yeah.
It's
Um,
all fun and games until you have all his job is to follow his man, which thank God his man followed him into the path of one of their receivers and he got the pick six.
right,
Uh,
right.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what they're going to do about the defensive backs situation because we've got a quarterback coming in, which I mean, I guess I kind of characterized him as like a good quarterback, but
Mm-hmm.
like, and not to say that he isn't, but like when you look at his numbers, like, would it shock you to know that Stetson Bennett has thrown more than Connor Bazelak?
So I did notice that. Yeah.
And Stetson Bennett has actually more yards than Connor Bazelak.
So okay, so I did see that. And let's see, they're two and so yeah, so let's see. So we have played one more game than them. Right. So
Okay,
we've played so maybe that's it. So because
that's got
they're
to be it.
they're 2-3. Um did they have the double bye week thing like Florida did? I don't think they did. But they did they're coming off a bye this past week. So they did just have a bye.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So we do have that going. Coming off a bye, it is also the 12 o'clock kickoff. Right. So although are they, and this is this is like Jim is bad at geography. Are they in the central time zone? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know, because it could be a 11 o'clock local kickoff for them.
It is an hour behind. Yeah. It looks like they're in Central.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. Yeah.
That's
So
what I was
they're,
gonna say. I was gonna say that, but I wasn't 100% confident in it because you made me second guess myself.
yeah, I felt like they had to be. I don't know why I even asked that. See, why are they in the SEC East? They're in the Central Time Zone. Come on. I don't know. Whatever.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, no, but so I would have been shocked at that if I hadn't. I basically kind of stumbled across that earlier. But I do think it's got to be the one less game, I guess.
Yeah,
on that.
surely.
So, yeah, because Bennett's got 153 attempts, and he's got 139. So yeah, if you take one more game, probably pretty close. Although, Bennett didn't play a full game this last game, so I don't know. Not
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I mean, I just thought it was strange, obviously, if you equal them out over the course of a game, like throw a 40 pass game in there for Connor there to kind of balance things out a little bit.
Yeah, right. True. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's right in there in the same kind of threshold there. But I don't know, man. I would have expected his numbers to be much higher, based on the praise that's been heaped upon him. But
Yeah.
he looks to be a very accurate passer.
Yeah, I mean, he's completing almost 70%, so he's at 69.1% of his passes. So,
correct.
Yeah.
Of the main quarterbacks, the completion percentage, obviously speaking from a team that's used to seeing what it's like when you don't complete passes, that is not something to shake a stick at.
Yeah.
So it scares me. This is one of those trap games that scares the crap out of me. Because like you said, it's 12 o'clock game. And I think, what was it? Was it the Kentucky game that we talked about? The, Kirby Smart's record in noon kickoffs on the road.
Well, that was just noon kickoffs period, actually.
Oh, noon kickoffs period. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, because two of the three losses were at home, right? Because it was at South Carolina and Vanderbilt games at home.
let's just say that this game is very scary for all of the reasons that we've already kind of hit on. You got a depleted defense. We don't even know who's going to be playing safety. You have a quarterback who, for all intents purposes, we can assume that he didn't throw today, and probably puts him behind the 8 ball in terms of being able to even start on Saturday. So you got a quarterback situation that we don't know what's going on. We have the noon kickoff. We have on the road. I don't know, man. I'm a little worried about this game being a potential trap game because, I didn't mention it in my list of things was, we have a quarterback that loves to throw over the top and is completing nearly 70% of his passes, which is, this season has not been a good story for us. We struggled at Arkansas. We struggled mightily with Florida, with Trask. We struggled with Matt Jones, and even Jarrett Garantano, gave our defense some troubles. Obviously, we kind of pulled away and things like that. But every quarterback that we've played that can actually throw the ball and is a potential, either early round draft pick or late round draft pick for the NFL next year, these guys have given us problems, and it scares me a little bit.
And I've seen a lot of those, just in kind of reading articles today or yesterday and today, what's the bigger problem for Georgia? Basically, it's like some of the things that I saw, right? Like, is the biggest problem for Georgia the quarterback situation, or is the biggest problem the defense? And I think we talked about like program wise, I'm not worried about the defense, right? But knowing, but like you can't ignore the injuries. Like it is reality, and with all those guys out, then yes, it makes me worry even more. And I guess the thing that I come back to is like, I mean, again, the game plan is all. I mean, you want to shut down the run and you want to make them one dimensional, right? I mean, and I feel like that was, and we talked about in the Florida review, like that was my big concern. Like once Florida started running the ball in that first half, like like that's where when everything changed, right? So after we go up 14-0, all of a sudden, again, like they didn't have a ton of rushing yards in the game, but they were capable of running and kept us honest. And I mean, they didn't have to throw on third down, right? Like they were able to pick up first downs running the ball. And again, I just felt like it was primarily due to missing Jordan Davis, and so with him being listed as day to day, like last week we heard the hopeful and maybe he can go with a brace and all that kind of stuff, and then today we heard he's day to day. I'm not super confident. I guess I would be surprised if Davis plays. So last week we talked about big day for Carter, Jalen Carter. It'll be a big day for him, and so that comes right back again because Rochester obviously isn't playing either. Again, I didn't see him noted, but it sounds like his knee injury was pretty bad from what we heard last week. So no Rochester and no Jordan Davis. So Jalen Carter, you're the guy right now, right? So
bring it on home, buddy.
Yeah. So there, and then just knowing like the middle linebacker injury situation. So yeah, I don't know, like, but I feel like that's what we're gonna have to do. Limit Roundtree, limit his, if we can get it to where he's not effective and to where we know they're going to throw, then I feel better. Still some concern, primarily at the safety level. I mean, but they don't have a Kyle Pitts type guy,
Nothing really jumps out for sure.
Yeah, and so that's where like Florida was like the perfect matchup for where we were depleted.
Exactly.
But cover the wheel route. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now.
Yeah, I fully expect someone to get burned on the wheel route this week. It's just how we do things. Yeah, nothing really sticks. Yeah, we'll say that we work on things one week, and then game time comes and it finds out, well, no, we actually still fumble the ball and throw it to the other team. Yeah, nothing really sticks out with these guys. I mean, their running backs are averaging less than 5 a carry. You look at their games and it's all over the place with Roundtree as far as like his performance. Looks like Connor Bazelak. I'm wondering if, obviously I haven't watched too much film, but like I wonder if he's been running for his life a lot of the season. How's their offensive line? Do you know?
I don't. Like I said, yeah, I basically saw like the end of the Kentucky game, and then I watched Florida, but I mean, Florida like just kind of pounced on them, especially in that game.
We kind of pounced on them first and found out really quickly why they probably had pounced on other people all season long. So,
yeah. I mean, looking at their point totals, so they scored 19 against Alabama, 12 against Tennessee. They did put up 40, so they put up 45 against LSU. So that was their breakout, but then 20 against Kentucky and 17 against Florida. So that's their offensive point totals.
Yeah, I'm looking at all their game logs. For the most part, it looks like that. Bazelak's good for 200 yards passing, which I don't know that necessarily pans out very well. I feel like that in order for them to win, he's going to need a 300, 400 yard type day in order to beat us because just looking at the yardage totals here, and maybe I'm going to back into why the odds are the way that they are. In order for him to throw for 200 on us, they would need to have a running back rushing really strongly against us, and I just don't see that happening with these guys because even Florida, to a certain degree, Florida struggled to run the ball on us. That's been our bread and butter is making teams throw to win. And if you have a quarterback, if you have a good quarterback, they tend to have at least some success, even if it takes us a while to wear them down. Like in the case of the Tennessee game, like I said, Alabama and Florida have done really well against these guys.
Yeah, Florida totally shut down their run. So that was their lowest rushing output. I mean, they held them to 40 yards on the ground.
Yeah. And then I look at
whereas we got 75 in one play against Florida. So,
And then I look at the LSU game as like a prime example. Like they were in a track meet with LSU on that particular game. Looking at the yardage totals for them against Kentucky, we would consider that a track meet with how many yards they put up, but the point totals were a little different. But yeah, I just don't see them having a whole lot of success on the ground, and that might be why the spread is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I'm looking at it too. I mean, to me, I don't know. It's not so much. I'm about to kind of basically flip the sides of the game. It's not so much their offense to our defense that really concerns me. It's what is our offense gonna do? Again, I'm not thinking it's going to be a shutout or anything like that. I think they'll score. But what's our offense going to do? And then to your point of they had a track meet with LSU. Although LSU is obviously not what they were last year, anywhere near it. We've signed up for 2 track meets this year. I would like to not sign up for a track meet on Saturday again.
Yes. We're going to sit this one out, guys. We'd like a regular football game, please.
Right.
And
so I don't know. Oh, go ahead.
I feel like we have to throw it out there for, every week we've said this, and we're just going to keep saying it because one day we'll be able to say it, and then we'll have a review show where it's like they played a complete game, Jim.
Yeah.
I just want to see them play 4 quarters, just dominate from the beginning to the end, everybody firing on all cylinders. That would be wonderful to see as far as hope building for the remainder of the season. And we can talk a little bit about, what the remainder of the season might potentially look like for us in terms of personnel groupings and things like that.
So if we look at our offense against their defense, and this is where I feel like I'm kind of going to get into to me, again, they are giving up a lot of points. So, I mean, this is where, to me, it just kind of feels like, can we figure things out? So they've only held one opponent under 30 points. So, and the lowest out beside that was Tennessee scoring 35. So, they beat Kentucky 20-10. They gave up 38 to Alabama, 35 to Tennessee, 41 to LSU in a win. But then 41 again to Florida. So they can be scored on, right? They can be scored on. So to me, this is more, I don't know, I guess I feel like for this matchup, it's more of a focus on yourself and what can you do and execute and do your assignments. Can the Georgia offense do that this week?
So I'm going to go the other way on what you just said. Their defense has given up points, but they've probably played the best quarterbacks in the SEC to date across the board on this. So, you got Garantano, you got Mac Jones. The guy that just got hurt at LSU, I'm totally blanking on his name.
It was Miles Brennan who played in that game.
Yeah, which isn't he the LSU's big passer right now? Or am I totally off on that?
No, yeah. I mean, he was the guy that's been there. He's the I don't know, I think he's a redshirt junior or whatever. But there was a freshman that played at one point.
Yeah. Anyway, you got the teams that are putting up those points have quarterbacks that are at least, performing decently well. So in comparison's sake, you look at this and you say, oh man, we should totally beat the crap out of these guys. It's that Kentucky game is looking pretty on par with what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah.
But like,
Uh,
so and I don't disagree, but and that's one of those ones where it was like we, I mean, I know we did the man ball or whatever in that game, but we definitely left stuff out in the field through turnovers, right? And so that's where I do, yeah. I mean, I guess I would say it's probably similar there. I don't. I guess we'll see what the game plan is. I have no idea. That's where I would say, please don't sign up for a track meet. I don't want to get into that again. We're not good at doing that. And like, so that's where on the offensive game plan with whoever the quarterback is, I just, I mean, we go up 14 nothing. I guess like by the time, we never had the ball up 14 nothing, right? So if we score 14 nothing, we go up 14 nothing Florida, then they come down and score. So we had the ball up 14-7 and we're just throwing, the whole rest of the game.
mhm.
So if we get up, we could kind of do that, hold them at arm's length kind of thing, right? But yeah, I would, with again, defense is depleted. I would like for the offensive game plan to be churn out long drives, and to me, like a perfect example was the drive that Dwan Mathis led. His one touchdown drive that he led. I mean, that was a good drive. It wasn't perfect. Um, there were some things like I know there was like a bad, or I don't think it was even a bad snap. We didn't talk about that. The not so great snaps resurfaced against Florida. That happened several times. Like there was a couple that Bennett had to go up pretty high for, and then the one that Mathis dropped though, I think he took his eye off it. I think he was looking at the rush, but that happened. But again, there was a lot of zone read. He did some great, I thought, zone reads there where he read the defensive end and kept it or gave it. I think he made the right decision on each one. That was good to see. Converted a fourth and short. Threw a nice touchdown pass to Kyrus Jackson. So we don't know who the quarterback is going to be. This is going to be. We're going back to our week 2. Like we're going to find out. The first 2 weeks we found out at kickoff, or when Georgia first got the ball. I expect no starter to be announced this week. It's gonna be a game time thing. Maybe beat writers catch wind of it during the week and we find out that way, but I don't see that being announced.
Yeah. No, you mean announced before the game?
Yeah. Like Kirby's not gonna come out on Thursday and say Dwan Mathis is the starter or Stetson Bennett's the starter or whoever is the starter. I foresee it being we find out when the offense runs out in the field. We're back to weeks 1 and 2, I think.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're saying that, so sprained in the shoulder day to day. Like you already mentioned, you wasn't going to throw it today, which it's Monday, by the way. But so Kirby did get asked in the press conference, is a healthy Stetson Bennett the starter this week? And Kirby's response was, "That's a great question. A great question, only to be answered at the end of the week," is what he said. So based off of that answer, I'm going with we're not going to know who the starter is.
Well, but he was also very cryptic, and I mentioned to you, like when I saw the reports come in about about the press conference, was he was for Kirby Smart. You have to under the umbrella of you got to think it's Kirby Smart, but like he was pretty scathing in some of the things that he said from a coach speaks perspective. Like, he talked an awful lot about accuracy. And as well he should, because it's got to be frustrating for a defensive guy that's like, hey, like kind of like Tony Waller says, go out and do that offense stuff. He uses a different word.
Right. I saw I saw various counts of, like I said, I did not listen to the press conference, but I've seen multiple reports of how many times Kirby used the words accuracy or accurate in a negative connotation. So I saw Zach Klein counted 17 times. And then I read,
really?
Yep. And then I read,
I was just joking when I told you that.
No, so here's Zach Klein, Bulldogs head coach Kirby Smart used the word accuracy or accurate 17 times today during his weekly Monday visit with the media. And then Jeff Schultz had an article on The Athletic where he said that it was 19 times, but I think he was joking. Like, I don't think he was actually counting. Like, I think it seems like Zach Klein actually counted. I think Jeff Schultz was just trying to be funny, but it sounds like he was pretty close. So,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
mean, like, hey, like, yeah, I'm surprised. I am surprised that he said it. Like you said, like, it's not the kind of thing that he tends to say. And I did see us pointed out, I think this was also in Schultz's article, that, like, Kirby's MO has been more like, if he's going to downplay, if he's going to talk bad about a position or a player or whatever, it's usually after a win, right? Kind of like tempering expectations. Um, and then he's more like talking people up after a loss. And so here we have, after a loss, Kirby being negative about something, which is not what he usually does. So, and again, and we've talked about it before in the podcast, that when he is talking to the media, he's not really talking to the media, and he's also not talking to us. He's talking to his players through the media. And I mean, maybe he's trying to light a fire under these guys. Like, look, the offense is working. Guys are running around wide open. You got to be accurate. You got to hit those guys, which, I mean, we've seen it and we've talked about it. I'm just surprised that Kirby said it.
I mean, he said a lot of things in that press conference that were, talking about Stetson and talking about Dwan and the decision making and all that kind of stuff. So, like, I don't know. I had an opportunity to listen to, a friend of the podcast, Punt and Pass, but Aaron Murray and Drew Butler were both pretty convinced that we've seen the last of Stetson Bennett. And I think the guys over at Waiting since last Saturday were kind of that consensus as well, that we've seen the demise of the Stetson Bennett project.
I'm not sure because of the way that, Kirby answered that question, or again, to your point, like we just said, he's talking to the players, and he was kind of cryptic, but he got that question, if Stetson's healthy, is he a starter? And so that's what you and I were texting about, right? That's kind of what I was wondering, would he do? Because, I would definitely say that Stetson came out of the game. I mean, he wasn't performing, but I think you could definitely say maybe he wasn't performing due to the injury. I mean, they're saying he couldn't throw today. I mean, I've never had a sprained AC joint, so I don't know what that feels like, but I imagine in your throwing shoulder, it cannot feel very well. So, why was he pulled? Was he pulled due to performance, or was he pulled due to injury? And you could argue that his performance, declined post-injury, which I think it did in that game, for sure. I mean, he was playing pretty well until that hit. So I could totally see Kirby, because he's said over and over again, Stetson gives us the best chance to win, et cetera. And I could see it being his mentality that Stetson gives us the best chance to win. He's not our starter right now due to injury. I could see him doing that. But the other thing is, with the SEC East out of reach, I mean, to me, I feel like you need, I don't know. And I'm not, and this, to me, this is not like we're giving up on the season or anything, but I feel like you do need to look forward to some extent. Like, who is a guy, because I've kept saying like Brock Vandegrift will be here next year and all that stuff, but he's going to be a true freshman. And I think like he plays in like single A ball, right? So not the same level of competition. So can he come in and start from day one? I mean, Jacob Eason didn't, right? It was game 2. I guess he came off the bench in his first game and then started the second game. Fromm was able to do it right off the bench in the first game, and then, started the rest of the season. So, can he do that? Maybe we catch lightning in a bottle next year. Maybe he could, but I feel like you need to get someone ready in case he can't. And I don't think that's Stetson Bennett. I just don't see him being the guy next year. So I'd rather look at someone who could potentially be the game 1 starter next year. And to me, like, it could be any of those other 3 guys, in Mathis, in Beck, or in Daniels. I would say Daniels has the highest ceiling of those guys. But like we said last time, he's a unicorn. I'll believe that he can really play when I see him step on the field. And I don't mean like that he can play like that he's good. I mean that he's actually healthy, is what I meant there.
So, pressure time. If you had to pick a starter for Saturday, as of right now, as of recording time, let's assume that tomorrow is Saturday. Who's your quarterback tomorrow?
So, can I ask a clarifying question?
I knew it.
Are you asking,
Yes.
is this question, who do I predict will start, or is this if it was my choice, who would start?
Let's predict. Let's go
Predict,
predict. Let's go
predict
predict.
Mathis.
Okay. And who do
Yeah.
you want?
I
If it
still
was
honestly
you.
still kind of lean. I'm actually still kind of leaning Mathis. I'm gonna stick to my text that I sent you during the game. We should have been playing Mathis all along. So I'll go that. I mean, I would be okay. Okay, actually, okay. I mean, preferably if Daniels was healthy, I'd say Daniels. Sorry, but I'm kind of like removing him because I don't think he is. So I'm gonna say Mathis. Yes, I would go with Mathis. Between Mathis and Beck, I would say Mathis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would not surprise me to see, you know, anyone out there other than Brock Vandegrift. Um, the quarterback spot.
I would be surprised if we see Daniels just based on like if we haven't seen him yet. I mean, unless he somehow magically gets better, because
I
it's got to
mean,
be injury. But anyways, that made me
I
a
mean,
different one.
on to some level, you know, it's a week to week situation. From
Yeah.
I don't know that I've looked at it this closely, but like Drew Butler had mentioned and Aaron mentioned on their podcast this week for the Florida review. They mentioned that that he was walking around,
Mhm.
no brace.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a scenario. He's traveled to every game. He's been in pads. By Kirby's own admission in the press conference today, he's been begging to do the scout team so that he could play against the number one defense. I'm guessing,
Mhm.
in some of the game prep. So he's been throwing. He's been playing. At some point, they're going to release him. Or he'll release himself because supposedly he's medically cleared to play. And if let's say this week he's ready to go and he's like, Neil feels good, coach, put me in, kind of thing. Maybe that's what Kirby's been waiting for, is him to just say, let's go. But like you said, I do think that Mathis goes out there. I like the idea that the Waiting Since Last Saturday guys mentioned was, I do think that there needs to be a decision. Like, this is what we're going to do. Hey,
Yeah.
whether it's Wednesday or Thursday or today or whatever, the coaching staff needs to sit back and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And, this guy gives us the most upside in the long run as opposed to the short run, because I think that the coaches in the handling of Fields mishandled the situation by saying, this guy gives us better potential long term. We need to figure out ways to get him in. And I recognize that the Fromm Field situation was totally different than this situation, but just for all intents purposes, like, if you recognize that there's a guy on the squad that has the higher upside and just maybe tougher to work with, tougher to train, on the job training, whatever the case may be. If I have someone that knows how to do the job, I'm probably going to stick with them, versus someone that I think is ultimately going to be great, but it requires me as a, employee or whatever to train that person to,
Mhm.
get up to par or get up to speed so that they can take over for that person that's sitting there. So if you see that there's someone on staff like that, you try to give them opportunity, like, immediately, as fast as you can. You figure out how to get them involved in the game plan. And so, Beck does not seem to be in that vein. But what I would say is, hey, Dwan, we're going to give you 2 games. We're not going to make any starter changes. You're the starter for the next 2 games. Or JT,
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
want you to be the starter for the next 2 games, and we're going to give you 2 games, and we're going to see how you do. Go in and commit to who you're going to stick with, and run with it.
Yeah.
Tell them under what circumstances that you're going to take it away, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a coach. Never really played at a high level like that for football, but you know, It's
I
just a
played
matter
flag
of
football at Georgia intramural.
yeah. We did. We did. I broke my finger playing flag football at Georgia, but um, anyway, yeah. I mean, basically,
Also, you said we're going to let him run with it. I would like to let him run with it literally. That's
Mhm.
my opinion. Run the ball.
So that's the other side. So that's the side that says, okay, we need to continue to run this offense, which uh, I don't know. I do think that I'm very much a huge fan of Todd Monken.
Yeah.
I think he's coached his butt off with these guys, but he frankly hasn't done very good at managing the quarterback situation. If he's the quarterback coach and he's the offensive
Mm-hmm.
coordinator, this quarterback situation, at least, as it stands today, if we had looked at the body of work we had leading up to this, he obviously had some insights from practice or whatever, and has insights from practice all week long. But like the reason that we're in the situation we're in with the quarterback position is because of his game planning as well as his quarterback decisions, and who's going to play, obviously, because you would assume, or one would assume, that he has a pretty good grasp and control on who's going to start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kirby's mentioned that they've been on the same page with this position. So I don't know. Maybe he knows what he's working with in the quarterback room, but frankly, we haven't seen it. And if I were in his shoes, I would probably be very curious as to what I had on my hands for next year, because you'd like to, by the end of this season, you'd like to at least have some understanding of what you need to acquire either in the off season in terms of transfers, in terms of JUCO, or whatever. Maybe it's and Kirby has operated this way. He's very different from Mark Richt in the personnel management standpoint, so that he can say at the end of the season, okay, Stetson, thank you for coming back out. We don't know that you're going to have any more playing time here, or Dewan,
Yeah.
thank you for all that your contributions. We don't believe that you have a future here at the University of Georgia, and it frees up another scholarship. If you know that any of these guys are not going to be the guys, we need to figure that out pretty quickly so that you can figure out what you're going to do from a personnel standpoint to fill the gap, because there's a possibility, God forbid, knock on wood, knock on yourself, Jim. Brock Vandegrift seems to be the real article based on everything that we've seen. And
Yeah.
I actually have poked at some of his film too. He looks like the real deal. So you could go to, Brock and say, hey, just so you know, you're the guy. You are the guy for next year. And it's just basic understanding of personal management. I mean, frankly, it's why Mathis is here, is Kirby did that. Fields went to Ohio State, and Mathis flipped his commitment from Ohio State to UGA, which, good grief, could you imagine what it might be like right now for them?
Yeah.
If they had Mathis and we had Fields, we might have a different media narrative going on right now about Ohio State. But
Right.
anyhow, I just think that we need to commit to him, and more importantly, we need to commit to what our identity is going to be as an offense. And
Yeah.
you and I have talked about this at length. We need to run the ball, and frankly, with Stetson as the quarterback, I don't see any point in throwing the ball 40 yards down the field when he very clearly can't do it.
Yep.
I see no point in having him on the field if he's not going to be doing that, because frankly, Mathis can hand the ball off and throw 10 yards ish.
Yeah.
as well as Stetson. And
well, and he can run the zone read and read
exactly.
the defensive end and get yardage, and he can make things happen with his feet, and the play breaks down. Now, to give Stetson credit, like, he can run too. Like, and we've seen him do it, right? We've seen him have some good runs. But I mean, Mathis running the ball excites me. And like we said, Mathis is just as capable of handing off to Zamir White. And if Zamir White only has 3 carries in the first half of this game, I might lose it.
Yeah. No,
so,
I mean,
come on.
That goes back to the identity. I mean, what are we going to do? We really need to get away from this. We're throwing the ball 40 yards down the field over and over and over, or consistently, or we line up inside we line up inside our own 30 and decide we're going to throw the ball once and we're going to do an end around twice in a row or something like that.
Still can't believe
Like,
that. Yeah,
come
we
on,
didn't even talk about
guys.
that.
Come on, guys. Like,
Yeah,
let's.
I'm totally with you because basically here's what I would say with that is like, and I said I predict Mathis, and I said I would pick Mathis, and my picking Mathis is around we've got to tweak the offense a little bit, and it's not even like new plays, it's plays that we've seen, but I feel like we need to focus on more of the running plays, right? Because again, it does you no good if the guys are running wide open if the quarterback can't get it to you. As far as like if we're not if Monken isn't willing to change what we're doing, then I would say, Daniels probably gives us the best shot to execute what he's asking of the quarterback. But again, clearly he's not healthy. And then Beck, I mean, who knows? Aaron Murray did talk about us and punt and pass today as well. And Drew asked him, like, he had felt like he looked good in that first scrimmage before the season. But Aaron like kind of was like, well, he was playing against the twos, right? He's playing against second team defense. So, not really sure how much to read into that. So, all right. So, yeah, so I'm with you. I guess one other thing on wanting to run the ball. I mean, at this point, it seems like we are pretty much down to Zamir White and James Cook now. So our, 4-man backfield is down to 2. Milton is out. I think they said like 3 to 4 weeks with a sprained MCL. Again, no one cares, but I sprained my MCL in college, and I could not imagine playing a football game 3 to 4 weeks after it happened. That kind of thing always amazes me. So it took me a lot longer to get back to like just normal walking around stuff than that. Anyway, we want to lean on that run game, but we're pretty much probably 2 guys about that right now, unless McIntosh comes back. But I haven't heard any. Again, he dressed against Florida. But didn't play, and I haven't seen anything about a timeline for McIntosh. I would love to get him back.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see McIntosh out there, but like I said, after 3 carries in the first half for Zamir White is just absolutely criminal the way that he was performing. So, I think that we can get a lot done if we dedicate plays and dedicate play time for James Cook. I just think that having him involved in the passing game and involved in the running game, he presents an excellent option out of the backfield on plays that break down or whatever. So I think that getting him the ball more statistically, as well as just, from an explosiveness standpoint, just represents a huge opportunity for us to just take advantage of him. Zamir White obviously has performed really well. Frankly, I think that he's done enough to warrant getting, 10, 15 carries a game, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I mean, like, people have kind of questioned, like, what's his speed like? Looks pretty good on Saturday when he ran down the field 75 yards. I did want to, so outside of the running backs, so with receiver core, obviously Rosemary Jack Saint out for the year with a dislocated ankle. Again, prayers to Marcus. Hope he gets better. He heals up. I did want to dispel a rumor. There was a lot in the rumor mill today about George Pickens, who, as we know, he's been injured, and there's a lot of speculation today around he's been dismissed or left the team and transfer portal, et cetera. But his mom is responded to a tweet today, and she shut that. Yep, she shut that down. He's not going. He is not dismissed or anything like that. So dispel that. So would love to get him back. If not, hopefully we're making the run the ball, get the ball to the tight end, and I don't know. Run the ball. I feel like I don't know. I'd like to go more Kentucky game plan than I would Florida. Probably somewhere in the middle is more right. But yeah, I don't know. That's what I hope to see out of the offense.
I would love to
Um,
see. I would love to see us figure out a way to not throw the ball.
yes, yes. I don't think we're going to see the triple option like we talked about in the Florida review, but I would like also to run the ball more. All right, so we got I got the request out for listener questions late, so that's my bad. But so we did get one on Facebook from our buddy David, and we talked about this kind of, but not really. So he said, "How different do you think Mathis would have looked Saturday if we had given him the chance to develop?" Um, so I'll say, and again, I guess kind of back to like what I was texting you during the game, like my angriness during the game was saying like never should have benched him against Arkansas. And so yeah, I don't know. Like again, that was definitely a like I say it was a full admission text message moment during the game. So that was me being emotional. I will say though, like he got put in it was a tough spot to come in against Florida the way he did. So I would imagine, yeah, like he would have looked better. He had that one drive, the touchdown drive was a good drive. Um, we've seen, and this is not just him, like both quarterbacks that we've seen have struggled with decision making. So I don't know, like I would like to think that his would have improved, and then just feel of the game. I mean, guy hasn't had a lot of live reps, and he didn't, wasn't able to do much last year. So yeah, I think we would have seen a better quarterback. Is it to the point where we would have beat Florida, with a more skilled or more fully developed Mathis, playing the whole game? I'm not ready to say that, just especially considering all the defensive injuries, right? I mean, we can't put it all on the quarterback. So not to that level, but I do think we would have seen a better player.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think that he would have developed some in-game experiences and management throughout the time. Would we most likely have another loss on the schedule? I don't know. If like, let's say if you
Yeah.
just if you committed to him, kind of like what we were suggesting, which you know, in the big picture, the chances of us getting to Atlanta this year are pretty slim. I have a feeling that the competitor inside of Kirby Smart will probably try to hold on to all hope until it was completely mathematically impossible.
Yeah.
My
I mean, you
fear
just kind of
is,
change. You just kind of changed the question.
and no, I think that he would have been a better quarterback, and he would have looked a little bit different had he had some commitment. He was put in really tough situations. Like you hate to see, like a little bit of adversity came his way, and then all of a sudden he got pulled out, and then he never got a chance to redeem himself or
Yeah.
sniff the field until, oh hey you over there,
Yeah.
we're down 2 scores again,
Yeah.
in your program's most important game of the year right now. Jump in
Yeah.
here and pull out the win. It's kind of like sending a relief pitcher out there when they're down 10 runs or something and expecting them to come back.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Um, okay. So, David, hopefully we got to you there. I did remember we had one last week, and I'll just acknowledge it. So, my buddy Brian Wade asked who is the best basketball player ever, or something to that extent. He asked it, I think, late, like he saw it late on Facebook last week. So, that's an inside joke. That's I don't know about you, but my dad and his dad always love to talk about Pistol Pete Maravich. And like whenever you talk about folks from, I would say, their generation about basketball, they're like, well, Pistol Pete, this is the greatest player ever. And if there was a 3-point line, his statistics would be totally different. So shout out to Brian. That's what that was all about.
Brian
All
and
right.
Fripp Dog.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. So I did. So last week, so the funny thing is actually John and I, we realized that we didn't do any kind of like side predictions last week. And then we actually, like after we did our game prediction, like we recorded it and I was going to add it or whatever, but we had talked a long time. So I ended up just cutting it. So there were some other things, but we lost to Florida. I didn't, whatever. I left it all out. So we'll just forget that. So I've got some this week. The first one we actually we already talked through it anyways. And so I didn't want to confirm. So it was who's going to start at quarterback for Georgia. So I already said Mathis. I think that this is prediction, not who you want.
Prediction.
Yeah.
Oh man. my hope is that Mathis would be the guy, because I just don't believe that Stetson's getting it done.
Yeah.
So do I? And this is where I just don't know how Kirby Smart's going to think. So like from a prediction standpoint, like I'll go Mathis. I'll agree, because
Okay.
I just think that with his comments in the press conference that it's going to be
Yeah.
he's done with Stetson.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. This is a throwback to the first 2 weeks. Over under 1.5 Georgia quarterbacks play in the game.
Probably 2.
Oh gosh, dude. So I wrote down my answers ahead of time so that I couldn't back out. I'm also over. So now we're 2 for 2 going with the same way. So I'm going to keep asking you because I already wrote mine down. All right, next one. I threw in a Missouri one because we are playing Missouri. All right, so Roundtree, over under 86.4 rushing yards. That's his average on the season.
His average is 86.4. I think he'll be under.
Par for the course. We agree on everything. Okay. So for those who don't know, this week is also Masters Week. So very odd to be playing the Masters in the fall. This is an audio medium, but we do this via Zoom. And so John has a nice Masters background in his Zoom call right now, which helps me remember. So who you got to win the Masters, John?
Ooh, talk about totally caught me off guard.
You thought I was just going to kind of talk about the Masters? No, I want a prediction from you.
Yeah, no. I mean, I really like Bubba, so I'm going to go Bubba.
Excellent. That's an excellent choice. So you actually just answered 2 questions, and I will explain. So I'm going to go with Dustin Johnson as the winner.
I like Dustin Johnson.
I think DeChambeau is the odds-on favorite. And I know he hits the ball really far and eats a lot of protein and such. But I don't know. I'm going to go Dustin Johnson. My next one was the highest Georgia finisher, Georgia, alum golfer finisher. So if you're predicting Bubba to win it, he would also be the highest finisher. Here's the funny thing. All right, I got to change something. We got to mix something up. So I'm going to go, because I'm sticking to my guns, Bubba. But just for reference, Kevin Kisner is also playing the Masters, and Brendan Todd. So they're both in the field. Although, Augusta National isn't really like Kisner's strength because he does not bomb the ball like those other guys.
Right.
Any other Masters thoughts? It's another one of those certainly weird that is being played now.
The only thing that I would say is I follow the Masters obviously on the socials, and the pictures that are coming out of the Masters in fall, I'm really digging it.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, the course looks beautiful. I mean, obviously it's the Masters. That's what they're known for, but the azaleas aren't quite as popping as they normally are. It's the leaves that are popping. So I don't know. I think that it's going to be awesome to see that play out in live on TV. So I'm really looking forward to some of the scenes that we see, Amen Corner, everybody walking across the bridge, that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I just think that it's going to be a more visually appealing for fall type situation for us.
Okay, well, so there's our Masters talk. Hopefully that's the only time we ever get to do that during a football game week, because hopefully we're back to playing at the normal time after this. All right, have we arrived at the time for the final prediction, being the score of this Georgia Missouri game?
Did we do one over under that I was curious about what your thoughts were?
Go for it.
Over under 3 turnovers for Georgia.
Committing 3 turnovers or getting 3 takeaways?
Getting
yeah. That's like that. Don't ask that question. 3 turnovers? Ooh, that's a lot. Man, I would love to say over, but
okay. Okay.
I'll,
Where do you
but
get, where do you get
what I
dicey?
predict?
Two and a half, like one and a half? What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So okay. So at 3, I would take the under. Um, hmm. Yeah, 1.5. I would just set that at 1.5.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to set it at 2.5 though? All right,
Let's
we'll set
do
it at wherever you want. This is your question. You said it.
two and a half.
Hmm. Hmm. I guess I have to go first here because I was asked all the other ones. 2.5. I'll still go under. I'll go under.
You go under? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take the over. I feel like that we're gonna get the ball.
Okay. I like
Um,
that. Hey, I like that. I mean, I would love that to happen. All right. So game prediction. Over under right now, score is at 48.5. And it is currently Georgia minus 11.5 points. That is what I'm seeing for the spread.
Yep. I'm seeing a predicted score. I'm seeing a predicted score of 24, basically to 6. So
Okay.
I'm seeing that Vegas doesn't really think that they're going to be scoring many touchdowns on us.
Yeah.
Um,
And that would be like a load up on the under kind of thing. Which,
mm,
to be clear, I am not giving gambling advice.
to be clear,
Do not listen to me. I do not know what I'm talking about. I do not gamble.
11 and a half. I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know. 11 and a half seems probably fair. The predicted
Well, I
score
think it
seems a
opened
little
at
off.
I've seen people say that it opened at single digits, like it opened at Georgia -9, and then it got bet up. Now, everywhere I looked, it didn't look like that, but I saw some people saying that. So who knows?
I tell you what will be interesting is to see the betting markets and how they respond to whoever starts out and trots out into the quarterback position to see what the odds, see how the odds change in real time.
The in-game odds, yeah,
Yeah, the in-game odds, exactly.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna go 27-7 on this one. That's how I feel about it.
Funny thing is, I wrote down 2 scores because like I had an original score, which that's what I'm going to stick with. I'm going to go back to stick with your gut kind of deal. So at one point, I talked myself into, man, like the item I brought up earlier around like they've only had one team that didn't score 30 points on them, and that was all right, forget who that was. Who was that? Kentucky, right?
Kentucky.
When they beat Kentucky, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was like, man, everyone scores 30 on them. Well, we can't score 30 on them. Like, come on, dogs. But you're kind of pointing out like the quarterbacks that they played, etc. So I'm going to back away from my. I had kind of talked myself into scoring 30. So I'm going to go back to my original prediction though, which was 24-10.
24-10. So that's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close to you. So
Yeah. That would be interesting. You were like with the other prediction, you were like the opposite of Munson. Come on, guys, we could do it.
right. Which I got a text from a buddy this weekend. So actually, it's actually with one of the people on this thread is the guy. So Adam, who gave us like the will we play 2 halves question that we keep referencing. I got a text thread with him and another guy. Another guy, Brad, was like, "I'm Munsoning so hard right now." Like the first half after this Florida. So all right, so we got through our predictions. Shocker, we agree on like everything, but hey, that's kind of our thing on My God a Podcast. And the best part of it is
wrong last game.
well, we were. But yeah, the funny thing is like how I wrote everything down ahead of time, so I couldn't waffle, and then like you agree with me on everything. So whatever, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, I hopefully our score predictions are right. It would seem to be a little bit less stressful day on Saturday if those hold true. Hey, run the ball.
Run the dang ball, Bobo.
That's right. That's right. All right, man. That's all I got. We'll talk on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.